A little bit of a rough week, so far because we had a major snowstorm.
Oh wow.
So we've been buried.
Yeah.
Um, could not make it in yesterday. I talked to many of my patients on the phone instead. But moving backwards to before the major snowstorm, I want to say I was counting it up before I came on. Out of the last 10 new patients that I've had in the past week or so, eight of them are pre-diabetic. According to my standards, they're already diabetic. Um, so this is just becoming an exponentially uh, escalating issue. And people always want a quick fix. They want to just, what supplements can I take to control my blood sugar? No, stop eating crap, number one. Number one. Then we can try to fix the blood sugar. But these people, a lot of them are already having damage to the lining of their arteries. They're coming in with blockages to their heart, all kinds of other inflammatory conditions, which happens to be the topic we're going to talk about today. But it's an epidemic.
Um, we're seeing more and more of that. I was talking to someone, what state was it? I want to say like the South Tennessee, Alabama, maybe. And they were saying similar things. More and more the heart stuff. They were asking me what to do about it. I said, well, nattokinase and NAC are very good for clearing the arteries out. Take those for a couple of months. But again, if you've been fueling your body with a load of crap for the last 30 years, what do you expect? It's like stick your fingers in an electrical socket with a long screw in them, you're going to get a shock. It's the same thing with this, treating your body and abusing it for years and years. Drinking gallons of Coca-Cola. I don't know why I'm
Yeah.
diabetic. Don't understand it.
The the people in general, no offense to anybody listening who might be from the South, but I have witnessed with my own eyes, having traveled there to teach seminars, that the diet of, certain regions have worse diets than others, and that certain states in the South are particularly bad.
Yeah.
And what you were saying about nattokinase and NAC, all good. If the arteries are really clogged, even that might not be strong enough.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
use
yeah.
something stronger called more than cardio support, which is combination of enzymes that really dissolve uh, thickened plaque and fibrotic tissue. But the thing is, and I just got off a call with a patient that couldn't make it in yesterday a few minutes ago. She said, um, the supplement that you gave me to help my blood sugar, I feel better since I've been taking it. And I said, yes, great, but you did not give me a food journal. I don't know what you're eating. Please, if you're eating inflammatory foods or refined carbohydrates that easily convert to glucose or sugar itself, nothing that I give you is going to fix this. You understand that, right? And I had that little chat with her that I have. I didn't ask her. I just, because she's about my age, maybe a little bit younger than me. And I just said to her, I have patients that would just rather eat and this person is very overweight. So I know she's eating things that she shouldn't be eating. I know she eats out a lot. I mean, she's not writing it down for me. So I said, I know there's people that would just rather eat whatever they want, and they just say, the hell with it. I just want to eat what I want to eat. If I get sick, I get sick. If I die young, well, that's in God's hands. And she kind of giggled and said, "Oh yeah, I've heard people say that." But I was kind of planting a seed there, without directly confronting her. I will. She promised to give me a food log. We'll
Yeah,
see. We'll see if
that'll be
she does it.
interesting.
Yeah.
I had to meet someone the other day here in Spain, and they said it's in front of Popayos. I said Popeyes. So they sent me the location. I'm looking around saying Popeyes. He said, yeah, it's a restaurant. He's Popeyes chicken, but in Spanish they say Popeyes.
Oh,
And I'm looking
right,
right
right,
at it.
right.
I'm going Popeyes, Popeyes.
That's funny. Yeah. Oh, so they have Popeyes there?
Well, they have a lot, I come across the weird ones. It depends what city. There's a Carl's Jr. as well, which all of a sudden, and then what's the other one? Three guys named Mo or something? What's that one? Five Guys, something like that. Is there a fast food
hmm
Five
Yeah.
Guys? All of a
Yes.
sudden they're popping up, but this Carl's Jr.'s got big signs up saying they're now using beef tallow for the fried products. They don't use seed oils anymore, but I don't use any of them. I cannot remember the last time I ate in any chain restaurant like that. Kentucky Fried or McDonald's or any of them, any of them. I'd rather eat nothing than eat those. It's just I can't do it anymore. Um,
It's
I've never
good.
tried papayos in my life.
Yeah, me either. Me either.
Louisiana chicken and Cajun this and that. Um, I've got a bit of a cold bubbling, so I'll just put some Vicks on my nose so I can breathe properly while we're talking, Corey. Um,
Yes, but Vicks contains petroleum. You should use eucalyptus,
you know what I have is I've got the crystals that
menthol.
you dissolve in water. I've just remembered.
Hmm
It's true, and I actually wanted to throw that out anyway because the top is correct. I'm gonna chuck that out. You're right, petroleum. Um, I had something else to say. I had a weird experience medically, Corey. I had
Uh-oh.
this was a weird mystic experience. I'll tell you, baby. Be bear with us for a while.
Uh-oh.
I had carpal tunnel syndrome on my right hand because when I was in Jordan, I was editing everything on my phone. As we were moving around, I was taking what we were filming. I was saying, okay, keep that, get rid of that, put that there. And I developed a really never had it before in my life. And the pain, honestly, it was a constant seven. It's waking me up if I was sleeping on it wrong. I couldn't lift it up and turn it. I was like, ah. So I didn't do anything about it, of course. And I went to see a friend of mine who I've become chummy with recently. And she says, oh, we do a lot of remote healing, and the spiritual sort of side of things. I said,
Mhm.
so I put my hand out. I said, I was asking her to sort of get her fingers in there and massage in that's where the muscle was. But she didn't do that. She just did something else. And that's okay. Listen, I got to go. I got a 2.5 hour drive ahead of me. She said, okay, I'll work on you while you're driving. I said, what, remotely? She said, yeah. And I was like, I'm always respectful to that. I've never experienced anything directly that's affected me, but I've heard stories, so I'm respectful. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, doesn't. So off I go, driving. Next day, I wake up and I ring. I say, hey, it's gone from a seven to a one. And then the day after, 100% recovery. After 5 weeks, couldn't get it right. And I tell you what, I could get back on the boxing bag 2 days after she did it. I'm absolutely shocked. I don't know what she did. And she didn't massage it. She just kind of rubbed it a little bit, kind of where does it hurt here. Like it was an examination rather than massage, but it really worked. So I haven't seen her for a week, but I'm going to go back and thank her, take her for lunch or something because oh my God, I can get back to doing everything. I couldn't pick up a pen with it. I couldn't pick up a pen.
It was probably more of a tendonitis than carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel generally causes numbness. Tendonitis is very common in the wrists, especially when you're overusing it, and it's very painful. Usually takes a long time to heal. But just so you know, I have a remote healer in my practice
Do
as well.
you really?
So yeah, we do that. We offer that service. Yeah.
Well, I'm very impressed. I'm going to give her a write up. I haven't seen her in a week, but I'm saying, holy shit. It's always the same. You abuse your body until something goes wrong. And I think the three major things for me would be when your foot doesn't work, when your hand doesn't work, and when your back won't bend. You got a bad back, man.
There's another body part that men are usually concerned about.
Yeah. When that doesn't work. No, but you can get away with that. You can get away with that. And, you can still
It depends on
look
what
how
makes you
defensive.
happy, you know.
Look at the
But
defensive
but
position I took up.
but listen. It's kind of a guy thing to wait until you're at the point where you're dysfunctional, right? Women, this is a general statement. Women oftentimes are running the household, right? They're they're plate spinners, they're the jugglers, they're making sure the kids are okay. They have to get out of bed in the morning and function no matter what's going on. Men are kind of like, let me wait till I can't move and then
Yeah.
I'll go get it taken care of. And that's until they get scared, right? Once they get
Yeah.
scared, then they might start doing some prevention. But that's just, a general statement. Not all men are like that. Not all women are like that. But maybe you can use this as a wake up call to not let yourself get to that point anymore. And here's another thing, you can always text me and say, hey, what's up with my wrist? It's really hurting. And then I'll give you some suggestions.
Corey, you are up to here. You really think I'm going to bother you with my little small things? And
Yes,
usually,
yes.
usually my things go away after a couple of days. I have noticed it's taking longer to get rid of them, but I would reach out if I thought, okay, I know what to
If
do.
it was serious. Yeah, but so something like that is fairly easy to fix, especially if you start doing it right away. I would have had you do some Epsom salt soaks and, a combination of hot Epsom salt soaks with some cold packs. I would have taught you how to stretch it. There's I would have given you some supplement recommendations, and it would have been fixed in no time. You didn't have to suffer for 5 weeks.
Poor Mahoney. Can you hear that violin playing? What else have I been up to? I've been watching, well, geopolitical. We're not going to get into that tonight. There seems to be, is there a big winter storm all down the eastern seaboard? Did you say you got hit by snow? How much?
Well, it depends on which street you're on because it seems like it's very variable. I would say that we had about a foot here, which is enough to cripple the area because my car got completely buried and then the plows come down the street and push the snow and then people are shoveling the sidewalks and they're dumping the snow on the other side of the car. So it was hours yesterday of my boyfriend and I shoveling and digging out the cars. And then and I have a private driveway that I rent, but even that it was just impossible to move in and out of it without hours of shoveling. And now I see all of my patients were confirming them for tomorrow's appointments, and they're all saying, is there going to be parking available? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. Not sure yet. Take a helicopter.
You know, one of my first jobs in the States, Corey, when I got there as a kid, I was 18, and I ended up in Philadelphia was the first city, a little bit in New York, but straight down to Philly, and I got a job mowing lawns, mowing lawns, mowing lawns. And I loved it because the smell of freshly cut grass still to this day, I absolutely love it. So it was brilliant.
Hmm.
Then it got a bit
Hmm.
odd in that like we started like huge colonial sized properties, like 15 football fields, all with the leaves, you know. But then in the wintertime, he gave me this great big truck, like a dump truck with salt spread on the back. And I was up all night driving up and down. Anybody in Philadelphia, there's one huge street where there's all these Roy Rogers. I forget the name of the street. I had it there in my head and it went straight away. So I was 18 driving a truck all through the night and I was drinking coffee and smoking cigars to keep myself awake and up all night in snowstorms. I'd never seen anything like it. And I drove into one of those Roy Rogers, right? And there's two cars sat there with the lights on and I could see these black guys in those huge, long, padded sort of Philadelphia Eagles, like thick coats, you know? So I gave them a look because it wasn't really a white neighborhood up there. Broadway, I think the street was called. And it ended up on Martin Luther King Boulevard. So you know it's not very pleasant, that part of town. So anyway, I did the drive-through and I
It
came,
it is now.
I
It
don't know.
changed, but yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I
yeah.
did the drive-through and when I came back after I'd backed up and pushed all the snow out, came back and there was just three bullet holes in one of the car windows and the doors open and nobody there. So I said,
Thanks.
I'll come back and finish this later.
Exactly. Yes.
So the winter storms that come in all of a sudden, I mean, within the sake of 5 or 6 hours. It just hit so hard. So another friend of mine, Victoria's down in Tennessee, she's been iced in. She says we can't get out. All the doors are all iced up.
Yeah.
She said it's 7 degrees. That's in
Yeah.
it's Fahrenheit, which
Yeah.
is about -10.
Yeah, that it's the temperature's been dropping all week and it's going down to 0 Fahrenheit by the end of the week, but it's with the real feel is below zero and everything was ice when I took the dog out this morning. So times,
I
yeah,
was
I
complaining
just
it
not
was raining. It was
liking it.
raining in Spain. I was complaining this. Wow, it's really coming down. Like, hey,
The
wow.
rain in Spain stays mainly on the plain,
Well, it
so
seems to stay mainly on my windows, keeping me awake all night. Is they're blowing a hurricane out there? I'm frightened to open the shutters in case it all blows in. Anyway, we've let the numbers build up by talking rubbish for the last 10 minutes. So let's get on. Where are you going to go tonight? Did you prepare something about inflammation? Did I hear?
yes, yes, yes.
Great.
Um, do I have a screen
We
share?
will do in a second. He's so unprofessional, this guy. That's what you think every week. It's the same thing.
It's part of your charm.
Calm, yeah, unprofessional and forgetful. What is it? Yeah, all right, you got the screen share.
Yeah.
I'll go silent and I'm going to answer a few text messages from people coming in here and questions, okay?
Okay, but pay attention. All right. So hidden inflammation, what most people miss. So I want to talk about the root causes, what inflammation actually is, and what you can do about it. A lot of people associate inflammation with pain, but you can have inflammation and not have any symptoms until it's too late. So, first of all, the word inflammation comes from the Latin for flame. So it's literally like being on fire. Inflammation influences healing, both injuries, um, illnesses, and injuries, illnesses, and uh, immune system challenges. It helps with repair and aging. So inflammation itself is not something bad. It becomes bad when either it doesn't shut off when it's supposed to, or it starts spreading. And it can affect anywhere in your body, your joints, your gut, your brain can become inflamed, your heart, and affecting your circulation. Really, any organ in your body can become inflamed. So it is a normal immune and repair response. When you're injured or you're sick, um, the immune system signals to the cells that produce the substances that help to increase blood flow, bring blood flow to the area that needs it. So when you bring extra blood to an injured area or to a area that's not well, that's under attack by, let's say, a toxin or a pathogen, the inflammatory response is a way of signaling the body about we need to heal this body part over here. So it's designed to turn on temporarily, fix what's broken, and then go away. When inflammation doesn't shut off, you end up with a chronic problem. So, first of all, repeated stress. And I'm not just talking about stress like life getting stressful, I'm talking about repeated stress to an area. So, using the example of, let's say, Dave's wrist, he probably had some inflammation in his wrist. He continued using it. He didn't do things to turn off the inflammation right away. So the inflammation, um, the inflammation signals stayed active, and the body ends up remaining in repair mode and creates ongoing tissue irritation. When you're in that cycle, the inflammation actually starts to do some damage. So localized inflammation is when you have an injury or an infection in a specific area. So it's linked to injury, irritation, infection. So your joints, like Dave's wrist, your sinuses, people who have um, sinus, chronic sinus issues usually have inflammation in their sinuses. A lot of people think that they're congested, but what's actually happening is that the lining of the sinuses, the tissues have become inflamed, and part of inflammation is swelling. And when the lining of your sinuses swell up, you can't breathe and you think that you're clogged up, but it's oftentimes it's not mucus, it's not congestion, it's inflammation. And the same thing can happen to the lining of your gut. It can happen to your muscles. It can happen to your blood vessels, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Systemic inflammation is when you have low grade inflammation throughout your whole body. This is often driven by metabolism, mostly high blood sugar, and also by stress. So your stress hormones, for example, cortisol, can signal the body to become inflamed. A lot of people who have chronic stress complain about feeling achy, aches and pains that just kind of don't go away. It may not be a sharp pain. It can be a dull, achy type of pain that you experience when you have systemic inflammation. Signs that you may experience with chronic systemic inflammation: fatigue, because it's very draining. The body is working very hard to try to repair itself, but it's not getting repaired. It takes a lot of energy for the body to do that. Poor recovery. So that means that maybe you exercise, you get sore, and you stay sore. Or you get a cold, but it just doesn't go away. It keeps lingering. Brain fog can be a sign of brain inflammation. Sleep issues, especially if you're achy, it is hard to sleep well when your body hurts. And it can also cause weight gain and mood changes. So weight gain can be caused by your lymphatic system not draining, which is part of the inflammatory process. So I have patients who are on a really good uh, eating plan. They're eating well. They're not overeating. They're trying to lose weight, and the weight is not coming off at all because lymph their lymph stuff is just not draining, right? So your drainage organs, your spleen, your liver, your kidneys, and your gut, your bowels, if they become inflamed, it literally causes everything to get clogged up and things don't move out of your body. And then, of course, mood changes. If your brain has inflammation, or just if you're not feeling well, which if you have systemic inflammation, I guarantee you, you're not feeling well. And it will make you a little bit irritable. Why it's often missed. Symptoms could be vague or not necessarily related to each other. So you can have a little bit of an achy low back, which is very common to have. And then you can also be having trouble recovering after exercise, and you're not necessarily connecting all of that to inflammation. There's usually not an obvious injury. When there's an obvious injury, you know it, right? This is the systemic inflammation. Sometimes you just can't put your finger on what's causing it. And a lot of people just say, this is just part of getting old. And I always object to that because, I mean, at 63, technically I'm getting old, but I don't experience any of these symptoms. It is not a normal part of the aging process. It's not normal to become inflamed. It's pathological. And then a lot of people just think it's stress, but it's true. It could be connected to stress, but it's not just stress. Root causes, there's many different factors that play roles in causing systemic inflammation. It's rarely caused by a single issue. Lifestyle and metabolism play major roles. So diet, excess sugar, and refined carbohydrates is number one. Sugar is inflammatory. Refined carbohydrates convert into sugar in your body. When you have excess sugar, you are causing an inflammatory process to occur in the lining of your arteries. You've probably heard me mention this under many other topics, but this is actually the number one cause of most diseases. So if the lining of the arteries to your heart become inflamed, it's going to end up causing heart problems. If the lining to the arteries of your kidneys become inflamed, it's going to end up causing kidney problems and so on. So it's not just that you wake up one morning with heart disease or kidney disease. You have been suffering from this low grade systemic inflammation for a long time, and it's doing damage over time. And then it gets to the point where you start becoming symptomatic. So, ultra processed foods that contain a lot of chemicals, a lot of toxins. Toxins also cause inflammation. Food sensitivities, so eating things that don't agree with you. So, for example, a lot of people don't tolerate gluten, and that's because a lot of the gluten is very poor quality. A lot of people don't tolerate pasteurized dairy. Those kinds of foods, which are actually ultra processed, cause inflammation. And then if your pancreas is already working really hard to try to manage your blood sugar and your blood sugar is unstable, you are not going to be able to fix the inflammation until you fix the blood sugar. Other parts of your lifestyle that might be contributory, chronic stress and elevated cortisol, which I mentioned earlier. Cortisol is like a steroidal hormone. We use steroids to try to reduce inflammation, which, as a pharmaceutical, which works short term. But when you're overproducing cortisol, your body actually has more inflammation. Poor sleep elevates your inflammatory levels. Smoking or vaping cause inflammation. Excessive alcohol intake, and lack of regular movement. So, sitting too much or not moving enough is almost as bad for you as smoking. And sitting around smoking and drinking and eating sugar guaranteed to develop some inflammation. When you don't move enough, your lymph system cannot drain. Your circulation is decreased. Your organs don't get the blood flow that they need in order to stay healthy. Blood sugar swings trigger stress hormones. Oh, there's a vicious cycle that ends up happening. Insulin resistance, when your blood sugar is elevated, and if you develop insulin resistance, that will elevate your inflammation levels. And then you're in a cycle of fatigue. And when you're fatigued, what do most people do when they're feeling sleepy in the afternoon and they need to get through the rest of the day? They'll reach for something with sugar in it, sugar and caffeine. That's what keeps, or caffeine, coffee with sugar in it. And I have so many patients that do this, and you end up in a worse and worse vicious cycle that just keeps going downhill. Your gut health is an extremely important barrier to inflammation. Gut integrity, so when the lining of your gut is actually healthy, it regulates immune signaling. So when your gut becomes inflamed or irritated, you will have more inflammation. If you have leaky gut, you're going to have more inflammation. And if you have an imbalance in your healthy gut flora, that's going to drive an increase in your systemic inflammation. Your not only your digestion ends up getting affected, but so does your immune system. Your immune system will become weak. And don't forget that pathogens will cause inflammation. An overgrowth of bacteria will send inflammatory signals throughout your body, an overgrowth of fungus or yeast, an overgrowth of parasites. All of these things can contribute to inflammation. And when you have an unhealthy gut lining, you're more likely to have an overgrowth of those pathogens. And they can be anywhere in your body, not just in your gut. Inflammation inside the arteries, which I mentioned earlier because this is so important, it triggers ongoing repair responses. So the more damage you do to your arteries, the harder they will become. This is called hardening of the arteries. When the arteries are damaged, the inside of the arteries are damaged, the body requests that cholesterol come to the area to repair it. That's its job. It kind of lays down a layer of, like, let's say glue. It glues it back together. But over time, if you continue to do damage to your arteries by indulging in inflammatory foods and drinks and lifestyle habits, the damage will never get fully repaired and you'll have a buildup of plaque inside the arteries and you will end up with disease. And that can happen anywhere. So most people associate it with their heart, and it very often does end up affecting the heart, but it can affect your brain. It can cause dementia. It can affect your carotid arteries, which are in your neck, which increases your risk of stroke. It can affect the arteries in any of your organs, your liver, and end up causing fatty liver disease. It can affect your kidneys and cause kidney disease, and so on, anywhere in your body. Arteries supply every organ. So when they get clogged up, your organs are not getting proper nutrition. Blood brings nutrients. It brings nutrients to the organs, and then it also carries away waste and toxins. When arteries are inflamed, you're not getting the full benefit of blood supply and carrying away waste and toxins. So masking pain with using painkillers like acetaminophen, paracetamol, ibuprofen, which is also an anti-inflammatory, as is aspirin. It doesn't address the root cause. It will temporarily reduce inflammation, but you have to understand why the inflammation was there to begin with. If you ignore lifestyle factors and you rely on symptom suppression, it's not going to go away. So even with supplements, we don't want to use supplements to force inflammation away without addressing the root cause. So we do use natural supplements to help with inflammation, but not solely. You also have to reduce your inflammatory exposures. So foundational support, keeping your blood sugar stable is number one. Getting enough quality sleep, regulating your stress, and regular movement. These are foundational lifestyle habits for any health issues at all, right? And if inflammation is the basis of health issues, then this is the basis of reducing your inflammation. So boswellia is one of my favorite natural anti-inflammatories. You've probably heard me talk about this a lot. And the things that I love about it, first of all, is that it's also anti-carcinogenic. So you're getting a double bang for your buck. This particular boswellia also has in it celery seed, which helps reduce inflammation, especially in your joints, turmeric, which helps reduce inflammation, and ginger, which helps reduce inflammation. And all of those also have a lot of other health benefits. So I just take this as a preventative. I love it. I have so many patients on it. I've gotten so much great feedback from patients. Boswellia, by the way, comes from the frankincense plant. A lot of people know about frankincense, which you can also use topically as an essential oil for inflammation. This particular turmeric is a powerful antioxidant, powerful whole body anti-inflammatory, but the formulation of this particular turmeric is special because it contains fenugreek. So you may or may not know that the um, main constituent of turmeric that's anti-inflammatory is called curcumin. Curcumin is very difficult for the body to absorb. So if you don't have highly absorbable form of it, you have to take so much of it that it's almost not worth trying. This particular turmeric has fenugreek in it. Fenugreek makes the curcumin so much more bioavailable that it's like you only need a couple of these to do the job. And fenugreek has its own health benefits. Fenugreek helps with constipation. It's a very mild stool softener. It helps with thinning mucus, so it's great for coughs and colds and even chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, emphysema. We use it for that as well. It's great for blood sugar balance also, and for increasing breast milk production. This supplement, IFC, stands for inflammation control. So what I love about this is it has all of these wonderful herbs in it: pomegranate seed, olive leaf, artichoke, acai bromelain, which is the enzyme in pineapple that not only is anti-inflammatory but also gets rid of spike proteins. This has so many wheatgrass, so many beautiful anti-inflammatory herbs in there, but it also facilitates drainage. So when you're literally feeling like nothing's moving out of your body, this is your go-to. And really, I think most people need this. Most people would benefit from IFC. And then last, I wanted to mention inflammatone because this is a liquid. It doesn't taste bad. It's great for kids. It's great for babies. It's great for animals. It's great for people that have trouble swallowing. It's gentle. It's homeopathic. So it has some great homeopathic properties that most people may be familiar with. There's chamomile in there. There's belladonna. Bryonia helps with pain. So it says here it's for fever, chills, redness, swelling, stiffness, but we also use it for systemic inflammation. And I always have this on hand. If I need it, I give it to my dog who has a funky elbow. And I have a lot of patients on this, especially kids. Key takeaway from this presentation: inflammation is not your enemy. The causes of inflammation are your enemy. Chronic imbalance is the problem. Just you need to support your body properly, not try to make the inflammation go away. If you do need help with inflammation or any other health issue, just email me at questions@drcori.com. I do have two ways of helping you. One is a comprehensive health improvement program that I follow you over time, and the other is a very low cost supplement, customized supplement recommendation program that most people should be able to afford. And the end.
That was a good one today. I've got quite a few questions there coming in. Um, you mentioned, well, how would you put that? I'll save that good questions after this. So, how do you tell when it gets to inflammation? You're talking about swelling, because what we didn't, did I miss that? Or there's a difference between it's swollen and inflamed, because that's what somebody was asking. How do I know if it's
Well,
inflamed and not swollen?
swelling is a symptom of inflammation.
Aha.
So, so if you do have swelling, redness, heat, which is something you're usually going to only see if it's external, if it's injury, if you have a reddened, swollen, hot joint, for example, or somewhere in the spine or a muscle, that is inflammation. But when it's inside your body, you can't necessarily know that it's swollen, right? Unless it's so swollen that, and I've seen this where it's bulging out the liver or the spleen, an enlarged, inflamed spleen is actually bulging out of from underneath your rib cage. So I have seen that. Um, but low grade systemic inflammation, you're not necessarily going to see those signs. But yeah, if something is swollen, that's
Yeah.
inflammation. Yeah.
Inflamed. Um, there's a good question there from Maria Davis. She's got two parts to this. It says, a friend of mine is convinced that cancer is linked to inflammation. Have you got any thoughts on that? Going to the
Well,
was
um,
one of
I
them.
well, yes. So everything, every disease has the basis of inflammation, everything. So it's not that inflammation causes cancer. There's already something going on in the process of the body that's causing the inflammation, which is also now leading to making you vulnerable to cancer. When you're chronically inflamed, so the immune system is activated when there's inflammation. So just think of it this way. Let's say you have let's say you're eating crap, and as a result, you have chronic parasites or chronic bacteria, or you're toxic with heavy metals or chemicals. The immune system is called into action to handle that situation. And that's part of the inflammatory process. The immune system will create inflammation in order to try to heal the problem. But you're continuing to eat the bad stuff or do the bad habits or whatever it is that caused this to happen to begin with. Now your immune system becomes depleted and it's not working very well and it can't protect you. And that leads down the road to a cascade of events that causes your cells to start replicating abnormally.
Hmm.
And that's what cancer is. So it's not just a one cause that leads to cancer.
Yeah,
It's a whole cycle of events that occur.
I think it's quite a varied cycle of events. I mean, it's a bit like the common cold. The reason we keep getting it is because it has an outer edge. It's the best way to describe it. Can be round one cold and square the next and rectangle the next. That's why we keep getting it. Corey, on another interesting question. Let me read this out. Where is it? Hello, Dr. Corey. At approximately 2.5 years of breastfeeding, one of my implants uh, was faulty. So I had both my breast implants removed and continued breastfeeding. I now feel that my lymphatic system could have been affected by this, and what would be the best supplements to take for that?
Yes, you're 100% correct. And you definitely need drainage if your implant was leaking. I see this quite frequently. I had a patient that was extremely ill from a leaky implant, and she had had breast cancer, and that's why she had the implant. She had it removed. It was a mess. So any of if you go on my website and you just put drainage in the search, There's so many different drainage options that you have. I don't know you, and I don't know your body, and I don't know all the data I would need to give you a specific recommendation, but I would at least start with some kind of drainage remedy. So we have Spanish black radish. I love that for drainage. It's really inexpensive. We have drainage tone. We have drainage activator. I mean, the drainage is the starting point for healing most conditions. If you want more specific recommendations for you, you can email me and we'll send you the information on the customized supplement recommendation program, which is very low cost. Just have you fill out some paperwork for me and give me all the information I need to give you a more specific recommendation. But it can't hurt you to do what I just said. If you are still breastfeeding, probably want to stay away from herbs for now, but the Spanish black radish is totally safe to take during breastfeeding. It's just a
Yeah.
type of radish. Yeah.
I'm treating a patient at the moment, a Belgian girl who's got Lyme disease. She's had it for a long time. It's affecting her nervous system. So I'm giving
Mm.
her some ozone treatments. I'm giving her some other bits and pieces. But what else would you recommend for that? Because I'm surprised. Now, is Lyme always from a tick bite? Tick bite, Corey.
Yeah, I mean, in theory,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Um, but I don't know. I have people that have tested positive for Lyme that swear that they didn't have a tick bite. So it's one of those kind of
Well, you wouldn't
weird
know, really.
gray. Well, that's true too. That's
It's
what I always tell them. It could have happened and you didn't know it. But a lot of times they'll get that bullseye rash, and it could happen somewhere that you can't notice it, on the back of your thigh, or you sit on a tick and it's on your butt
your
and you
hair.
don't even know it,
Yeah.
right? Or on your scalp. So yes, so depending on the type of Lyme, right? There's different subtypes. There's Bartonella and Babesia and Ehrlichia. There's different kinds. I do have supplements for specific types of Lyme that work really, really well. Um, and so they're called, like, depending on the type of Lyme, IS Bart for Bartonella, IS Bab for Babesia, IS. So they're on my website. If she wants to check that out, and of course she'll need drainage as well. And the drainage that we usually use for the IS products is called biotoxin binder. So they kind of work together. I've gotten great results. I've stopped Lyme in its tracks. I've had people come in with a bullseye rash. They knew they got a tick bite. They already started having symptoms. They got a fever. They started having joint pain. And I got them started on this protocol and it went away. I've seen that happen several times.
When I lived in Honduras, I used to walk in there. We had a piece of land that we were converting. We're chopping it. Well, we weren't chopping it down, the locals were. But when I'd walk out with my friend, this Danish guy, he'd always be covered in ticks, and I'd pull about two off. They never bit me. I don't know why. He was panicked about it. He is dead now, actually, poor guy. He died about a year ago. Myocarditis, had four you know what, and dropped dead in Miami. He was my age, my ex-business partner. Corey, do you want to hear a funny story?
Sure.
You like this, right? It's kind of medical. So I was watching a documentary that just kind of came across my desktop today. I thought that looks interesting. And it was about Victorian England and specifically about 1888 in London. So, for the sake of the audience, I'm going to set the scene. And there is a funny little kitsch at this. Now, the woman that was telling the story didn't realize she was funny, but she was awfully well, spoken. And she put a really thrilling documentary together. So, at the time of the Jack the Ripper murders, it started in late August 1888 in a place, a part of London called Whitechapel. Yeah, so there was mutilated prostitutes, and it went on into the sort of late summer, and they never really got anybody for it. But during the same time, there was another serial killer at work who actually got more press, but history didn't remember him. And you bear with me, guys, you'll see where I'm going with this. And he was called the Thames Torso Killer because he was dismembering women And the only thing, they never found the heads. So they could never determine cause of death. And most of the time, they couldn't determine who it was. But one of the stories was at the height of the Jack the Ripper frenzy, when half of East London, well, half of London was in a total panic and scare, and specifically in Whitechapel, in this area in East London, people were terrified. There was a famous person, their family was called Mary Shelley. And what reminded me is when you said frankincense, okay? So Mary Shelley wrote the book Frankenstein in 1818. So 70 years later, they had a large house in London. It was called Shelley House. Then Mary Shelley. So what happened at Shelley House is one of the dismembered torso body parts was found in the Frankenstein author's place. And they went into a total panic. And it turned out to be just complete random. They didn't know that they lived there. But they chucked this torso of a woman dismembered from the hips and the arms, and the head was cut off. And they put it in the garden of Mary Shelley's family. So they totally panicked. And then London started panic, thinking, oh my God, this is the Frankenstein case where they're dismembering body parts and stitching them all back together. And and here's the other twist in that whole story was that um, the last girl that was found, no, it was Mary Kelly was found, right? So there was another guy that was killing people, and then he wrote a letter to the newspaper saying he was a horse knacker, which means a guy that goes around and kills horses, and then he dismembers the horses and he distributes it as dog and cat food. And one of the bodies was found in his yard, and they never put it together. In the meantime, the entire Shelley family were totally panicked and moved out of the house for fear of Frankenstein parts being dumped on the doorstep every single evening during the late summer of 1889. But it didn't happen. So, how weird is that story? You'd be totally panicked, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I feel like vomiting right now, but thank you.
I know it's kind of off topic, but it was just a because of a forensic story, and I thought the humor was because the way that the woman delivered the lines, it often happens just a pure coincidence and sends the police off in a totally different direction. Because they then linked, they thought it was the same killer, Jack the Ripper, and this other guy, but it wasn't. They never caught either of them. But crazy story I heard today, and that was
I actually like forensics. I'm really interested in forensics. So,
what
yeah,
was
it is fascinating.
what was interesting there was syphilis was killing people. So,
Mm-hmm.
one of the cases that they were investigating was okay, this seems like the guy was killing a load of women and prostitutes specifically, or sex workers as they called. And it was because a lot of men would catch it and then give it to the wives, and then their children would be born with it, and the children would die about a year later because one of the symptoms was malnutrition. So
Mm.
can't the children would become emaciated and very withdrawn and gaunt looking, and then they'd have the series of the welts, like the pock marks over their faces. Horrible way.
Tertiary syphilis, which is when it's untreated, there's three stages. The third stage, tertiary syphilis, it's just a horrible disease. It causes severe brain damage. So people literally become insane.
Yeah, and this is one of the things we were talking about. This is why I kind of brought it up as well. It was a great piece of investigative journalism. I thought she put a lot of the forensics together, and they went and found the death certificates of. So one guy they suspected, his wife and baby died. The baby died at 1 year, and his wife died about the same time. Both of unable to get nutrition sufficient, and it was often recorded as they didn't want to shame the family by saying died of syphilis, but it looks very much like that. So if the husband had it and he was suspected of going out and because at the time they blamed women for being the carriers and men being innocent. It's not us, it's the Jezebels. So how modern medicine has changed now is such an easy thing, and they say Al Capone died of that as well. So even right up to the 1930s and 40s, they couldn't cure it, no?
You're right. I know of family members, a couple of generations ago that died from syphilis because they didn't catch it in time, and then, it's cured with IV antibiotics, but
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, back I don't know exactly what year that they started to be able to diagnose it quickly enough to treat it before it progressed.
Now, when I went to Hong Kong, all of a sudden I started getting advertisements for HPV, showing me pictures of people with welts and things all over their legs and scratching them. I don't know why Hong Kong all of a sudden started picking up and sending me, because the problem is, I think, what's this then? Because anything medical related, I'll have a look at it. But human populus virus, papillomas virus, right? HPV.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden, this is start bombarding my phone in Hong Kong. It's like, okay, this is strange. I don't get it anywhere else in the world. As soon as I land in Hong Kong, my Instagram's sending me this. And it must be some sort of big problem there. Because I still occasionally, I got one today. I was like, why are they still sending me this? And it's all Asian people, Chinese people in the adverts, you know. Oh, you got horrible things going on your legs. Now you need to get this cream.
I've never heard
Why?
of it growing on your legs. I mean, it's
On the thighs that shows people.
usually genitals, and most people don't even know that they have it. It's something very often missed as a diagnosis. So
Showing
don't
us
know what
here,
they're
like
talking about.
warts on people's thighs, and then they put this cream
Okay.
on, it goes away. I'll send you the next one I get. You'll love it. Don't worry.
Are you sure it's not genital warts that you're talking about? That I
You
mean,
know what? It
I don't
could be, but I remember HPV. No, it says HPV because then it
HPV.
also, but it mentions both of them in the advert. It mentions both of them. It did both of them. They're saying they want me to do that Chinese accent again. I won't do it in case somebody starts to try to kill me.
Yeah, you might offend somebody.
Oh, that wouldn't be the first time. Let's see if there's any more questions in there. I think there was another one in there. We got that answered. Dr. Corey there. What else? I had one other thing for you. I had somebody else this week that was talking about. Has there been any updates? Where is that? Something about epilepsy, Corey. Wait a second. I know where that is. One
Okay,
second.
and while you're looking, I looked it up and it can appear on the thighs as genital warts,
Yeah,
caused by low risk strains like type 6 and 11.
I don't know what that means, but
So
I'm
they're
gonna
not
look it up
high
while
risk.
I'm
High risk um, can are more easily transmitted and can cause cancer, but these are low risk on the thighs.
well, I'll send you these horrible looking videos.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's okay.
has there been any updates recently in treatment for mild um epilepsy?
So when you say updates, are
I
you
think
talking
that
about
means
are you talking about conventional medical pharmaceutical updates? Because I don't use pharmaceuticals.
no.
In my
Have you any
in
updates?
my world, what we have very effective treatment, and I've helped many people not have epilepsy anymore. And usually it's pretty simple, but we almost always have to start with a detox and reducing inflammation in the brain. But a very simple form of calcium often just stops it. So sometimes it's a deficiency in this particular form of calcium. Um, and it's like really inexpensive. It's not that difficult for me to fix that.
She says it's my 17-year-old daughter. She suddenly developed epilepsy last year. We found that if she gets woken up suddenly, it can what's that word? Generate an attack. If she gets woken suddenly, it can generate an attack. We found. So would that be a calcium deficiency, you think? She never had it before. 17-year-old daughter. Yeah, she didn't have it before. It just suddenly started happening last year.
Right. That's not uncommon for there to be a sudden onset where the person never had it. I mean, my grandfather developed it in his, I think, 60s. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to try to help if you want to send an email
All right.
and do my supplement recommendation program. I can try to figure it out. I mean, most likely I should be able to.
Okay. Corey, I can't believe it. It's top of the hour.
I
Um,
know it went
let's
so
let's
fast.
get your YouTube channel. What's it called again?
I don't know. Oh, my name. It's called Dr. Cori Stern, and my website is drcori.com. Cori is Cori, and my email is questions@drcori.com. If you go on my website, you can sign up for my email newsletter, which gets sent out every 2 weeks. And I always have a recipe in there related to the topic. So today's email was on inflammation, and we had an anti-inflammatory recipe in the email.
Look at
So
all these videos. You got a lot on there.
yeah, yeah, I have lots and lots of videos, and somebody was asking in the chat for me to do a presentation on mental health, which I'm happy to do, but I just want to mention that I do have a lot of videos about that, about stress and about, I don't call it necessarily mental health, but emotional stuff and stabilizing emotionally and stress and things like that.
Okay.
But I can do one of them on here as well.
All right, Corey. Well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. If there's anything else, folks, you need to contact Corey about, her contact details are in the links below. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks. It'll be February, close to Valentine's Day. Do you want me to send you my address so you can send everything?
I think I have it already, but
No, that's the
probably
old
won't
one.
be. I don't celebrate Valentine's Day, so
The UPS man is coming. Oh.
oh, you're so lucky.
Corey, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Great to see you. Thank you, folks. I'll be back on Friday with hopefully Nick Sylvester, but let's see what happens. You never know. Could be somewhere else on Friday. Bye bye, Corey. I'll see you next week, and I'll see you Friday, guys. Bye bye.